Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear learners. I welcome you to English Grade 9 video lessons. I'm your instructor Zia Hamid. I hope that you're doing well. We will be dealing with unit number 1, and this is our lecture number 1. The topic is pronouns. The competency we're dealing with is grammar. So let's begin by understanding our students' learning outcome for this lesson. It says, demonstrate knowledge and application of parts of speech in oral and written communication in varying degrees of complexity. My dear learners, not only we will be seeing it in the terms of knowledge, but we will also try to practice it in oral and written form. And we will also be dealing with the complexities of parts of speech. So this is our breakdown of the SLO. Now let's take a look at the vertical linkage. We have read this SLO in the previous grade 8. It says ensure that pronouns are used in the proper case, subjective, objective and possessive. I hope that you have a good time recalling it. So now let's begin with the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. We have an ayah from Surah Yusuf, ayah number 2. It says, we have sent it, the Quran, down as an Arabic Quran so that you may understand. My dear students, did you notice? Allah used in Arabic didn't quote the Quran directly, but rather used the word it, which is understood that he is talking about the Quran. So we can see a lot of different examples from the Holy Quran. If you read the English translation, you can find so many pronouns followed by a bracket explaining what the pronoun is about. So using pronouns instead of noun is very important, and today we will be learning that how can we replace nouns and use pronouns so that we can communicate effectively and we use lesser time and we avoid repetition. So subhanallah, this was such a beautiful ayah that we read. Now moving forward, let's brainstorm. You are already familiar with the parts of speech. So now let's go through one by one. Let's recall all the parts of speech that we learned. I hope that you have brainstormed it rather quickly. And now let's look at the word itself, pronoun. Where did it originate from? So the word pronoun originally comes from the Latin pronomen, which means for or in place of, and it also means noun, name. So this is used in place of noun, or as we call it, name. The pronoun is a stand-in word for a noun. So you can use pronouns instead of repeating the noun. So why do we use pronouns? We use it to avoid repetition, and we use it to make our communication, our dialogue, our speech effective. And now let's look at an example. Umar went to the store with his father. Umar and Umar's father bought some groceries and then went back to Umar and Umar's father's house or home. Did you see that? A lot of repetition is there. Umar is being repeated twice and thrice. Also, it makes the sentence longer than usual. So what do? We use pronouns. Let's take a look. Umar went to the store with his father. They bought some groceries and then went back to their house. So we replaced Umar and Umar's father with the pronoun they, and it shortened our sentence and it made it more efficient. I hope that you have understood using this example. So let's look at the definition of pronoun. You can find it in your book. A pronoun is a word that is used to replace or substitute a noun in a sentence, avoiding the repetition of the same noun, and pronouns are helpful for making sentences less repetitive and more concise. They simplify communication by referring back to previously mentioned nouns. So we already talked about it, that it helps us avoiding repetition. Here are some types of pronouns. You can learn them by heart, and let's explore them one by one further in the video. So, but first let's look at a definition of a pronoun. A pronoun is a word that is used to replace or substitute a noun in a sentence, avoiding the repetition of the same noun. Pronouns are helpful for making sentences less repetitive and more concise. They simplify communication by referring back to previously mentioned nouns. We have some types. They are personal pronoun, possessive pronoun, reflexive pronoun, reciprocal, relative, demonstrative, interrogative, and indefinite pronoun. Now let's begin by understanding the use of a personal pronoun. It's suggested, as suggested by the name, this will target all the personal pronouns like I, he, we, you, she, they, it, and all the I, you, he, she, they will be replaced, the subject, by these pronouns. And here with the object also, we will replace the name of the object again and again. To avoid repetition, we use these pronouns for the objects. Now let's look at possessive pronoun. It says it shows ownership of a noun. Independent possessive pronouns aren't followed by another noun. So, for example, the house is theirs, the cat is hers. So, it shows possession. That's why we used the possessive pronoun. They are like mine, yours, ours, his, her, its, theirs. These are some examples of possessive pronouns, and we can use them to shorten the sentences, right? The house is theirs. Instead of repeating the name of the subject, we just use the pronoun theirs. Reflexive pronouns used the subject and object of the sentence when they are the same. These pronouns refer back to the subject of the sentence. For example, I want to buy myself a new car. So, this myself is reflecting the speaker. It means it's reflecting me. I'm saying this. I want to buy it for myself. So, they look something like this: myself, yourself, ourselves, himself, herself, itself, yourselves, and themselves. These are some reflexive pronouns, and the person using it will reflect by using myself, or if you're addressing the person next to you. So they can be used in different scenarios. So now reciprocal noun pronoun is used when two or more people are doing the same thing. For example, each other, one another, we like each other. So they started joking with one another. So the kids kicked the ball to one another. Fatima and Anna are talking to each other. It kind of shows their relationship in a reciprocal way. So that's why we use these pronouns. So for relative pronoun, we have this definition. It connects a clause or a phrase to a noun or pronoun. These are some relative pronouns. Let's look at an example. I don't know which hat to buy. I didn't hear what you said. So they are talking about in relation to something. I don't know which hat to buy. I don't hear what you said. These are examples of relative pronouns. Now, demonstrative pronoun, it demonstrates, as suggested by the name. Let's look at the definition. It is used to point to the specific noun being mentioned. They can be singular or plural. Those shoes look great. These apples are red. So, those and these these pronouns are referring to something. They are talking about something that's in front of them or a little further, so they are referring to those things. If the things are nearer, you use the pronoun of these. If they are a little further, you use the pronoun of those. So this, these, those, that, all these are some examples of demonstrative pronoun. Now interrogative pronoun, what do you think about this? Yes, they are followed by a question mark at the end. So what time will you arrive? Who is she talking to? So these pronouns are basically used in a sentence that is like a question, that is an interrogative sentence. Who, whom, which, that, which, what, whose are some examples. Indefinite pronouns, let's see, they are used to show unspecified people or objects. They can be singular or plural. We have some example: everyone, somebody, all, and further. So they are referring to something which we don't know the quantity, we don't know them in detail. So in order to avoid the cluster, the confusion, we just use some indefinite pronouns because we are not sure. So let's look at an example from the text of the lesson. Now, if you take this part of the text, let's see in detail that how the pronouns are used here. So these highlighted pronouns, they are used to avoid repetition, and it actually concises your writing. You can read the text, the given text, and then identify the pronouns used. My dear learners, now we have this interesting simulation video for you. It will teach you more about using pronouns. So we have a classroom activity. So let's get started for this hunt of pronouns. Have students search for pronouns in the text of this unit. They can underline or highlight the pronouns they find. Then you can discuss and analyze in groups why specific pronouns are used in different contexts. So this will be your classroom activity. Here you can read this page of the book, page 19. And now, after discussing everything and reading everything, now it's time to put it into practice. We have a worksheet for you of pronouns that you can solve. I requested my fellow teachers that you can distribute these worksheets among your students. Now, for homework, we will be dealing with 2 simulation videos. By watching these videos, you can easily identify and use different kind of pronouns. So at the end of the lesson, we have some resources for you, my dear learners: worksheet, question bank, skill sheet, presentation, and finally a lesson plan. All these things are included and attached in the lesson in the description of the video. I hope that you had good time learning about pronouns and different types of pronouns. So until the next lecture, Allah Hafiz.